UFOs are being talked about a lot these days, and that should probably be a whole video in itself, especially since I've been into sci-fi since I was a kid. But instead, I actually want to talk about an interesting theory in regards to aliens and our communication with them, because I think it is really thought-provoking in regards to some of the social issues that we experience in our everyday lives. Now, to set this up, even if it goes without saying, there's a search for life in the universe somewhere besides Earth. Yet, as far as I know, that search has kind of turned up empty. There may have been a signal here or there that was suspicious, or maybe some potential hoax or a weird sighting, but there wasn't anything that's really been like concrete and definite, which puts aliens into the realm of the theoretical, especially on why we haven't been in contact with them. And there's one theory in particular that I want to talk about today, which is generally given the name of the Dark Forest. To be honest, probably the best way to explain it may be to share the common story related to it whenever someone brings it up, where it turns out we actually have received a visceral message. It was really simple. It was simply, be quiet, or they'll hear you. What the Dark Forest entails is that all alien species are, well, the dark about each other. And thus the situation is more like being in the middle of a dark forest during a war, where everyone is on high alert for signs of another, as not paying attention to those signs may make all the difference to their chances of survival. And thus some may treat it in a way of, it's better to be safe than sorry, and thus act decisively at the first sign of another. So yeah, rather than making some galactic federation or republic, it's more of a who can deal the winning blow first. Naturally, this can be a really interesting story idea, as there are all kinds of ways to kind of play with it, and potentially subvert it even if the first idea is probably some sort of horror/thriller. Yet, that is not the only option, because it's all about trust and risk in a sense. As we as do we trust that someone who is different from us may actually have good intentions for us? And would they be willing to do the same in their perspective towards us? It's kind of like the prisoner's dilemma in a way. If you've ever watched a show with interrogations, you're probably already familiar with this setup, but it's where you have two suspects who are separated, and the interrogators are trying to get them to turn on each other. The best possible scenario for the suspects is that they trust the other one not to sell them out. Yet the safest option may be to turn first, and give all the details in exchange for a better deal, often betraying the trust of the other. Of course, they could both end up turning on each other, and they both end up losing. Going back to the alien examples, to kind of give an example of that, it would give us the possibilities of reaching out and trusting someone we don't even know, and it ended up working out. Then there's a possibility of one side reaching out and then finding themselves on the wrong end of a planet destroyer, or the classic lose-lose case of mutually assured destruction. Now, these might seem like extreme examples, but I think there's a bit of takeaway with how our society is today. Because it seems that for the most part, that even though we have more opportunities to connect with than ever before, people may be lonelier than ever before as well. At least, that's the impression I get. Now, is this simply because stories and social media have painted this picture of connection that is effortless but so meaningful and great? Or is there something else that's going on here? Because the thing with relationships is that not only do they require time and effort, they also require trust. And so any new connection is inherently a risk. What if it doesn't work out? What if they don't feel the same way I do? What if they are just going to leave like everyone else has? What if they can't look past my faults? What if they betray me? We can come up with 1,000 different what ifs on why not to do something or not to risk. And we'll probably have to accordingly to the ones we have played repeatedly in our head. And again, not every connection is actually workable. Some people just don't click with each other no matter what you do. And that isn't really either one's fault for that matter. But we also live in a time where many people are desperate for affirmation, but that's also all they really want. So anything that may be of a refining or pruning nature is treated as the worst possible thing you could say to them. Many people have also lost the ability to actually agree to disagree. For example, whereas people could have said, oh, you see things from a different perspective than I do. That's okay. Maybe we can still learn from each other, or at least be told to each other. In fact, it often seems that the moment you disagree with some people these days, they'll automatically see you as less than human, as another, or as an enemy. Hence, it's easier to and tempting to be keeping things light and shallow, even if we actually do desire those deep and meaningful relationships. So we keep that cycle of what ifs going on in our head. Yet, the funny thing about stories, especially in sci-fi and fantasy, is that they often come from that same question, what if? Now sure, sometimes the answer to that question may turn out horrible, but not always. What if it works out? What if we feel the same way about each other? What if I stay with them? What if they help me grow? What if we end up having each other's backs? Again, our lives and perspectives will often reflect the narrative we have formed in our head first. And that goes for everyone we interact with as well. So sure, there will be times when conflict comes because of the way those narratives have interacted and conflict with each other. But there are also some amazing things that can only be accomplished when the narratives are aligned and synergized together. But in order to have a chance to see those amazing parts, we have to risk experiencing the bad. So in the end, what we decide pretty much comes down to how we weigh the cost compared to what we can gain. In that case, what will your choice be? Feel free to share your thoughts on it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, you can like and share it so that others can enjoy it as well. Anyway, I'm Jonah, and you've been watching Lions Made Media, where we celebrate stories and the lessons we learn from them. Talk to you later, and have a great rest of your day.